It's exactly 7 p.m. in the Philippines. So I guess it's time to start the session now. Okay. My warm greetings to all the members of this session from the different parts of the globe. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are and whatever time zone you are currently in, I cordially welcome you all to the 17th webinar session organized by the Qualitative Research Connect organization. I am Professor Alvin J. C. Tabamo, a faculty from Xavier Ateneo School of Education, Cagayan de Oro City, Republic of the Philippines, and a member of the Qualitative Research Connect organization. I'll be your moderator today in this another great, exciting, and insightful webinar session, which aims to equip you, qualitative research enthusiasts, with a step-by-step understanding of how to plan, conduct, and enhance the quality of qualitative individual interviews. Now, to delve into the session this day, allow me to introduce to you our esteemed resource speaker for this day's webinar session. He is a distinguished faculty member at the College of Law and Social Sciences, Methodist University of Angola, an advisory member of Qualitative Research Connect. It's a trusted qualitative research mentor, business and research faculty member, and the general manager of Mombongo, Ecova, and Service. With his research experience in guiding researchers and conducting qualitative inquiries, he will walk us through the core processes of conducting qualitative individual interviews, explore various techniques, and share some practical steps to improve our interviewing practices. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome with a resounding virtual applause, Dr. Edivaldo Abel. Hello, Doc. Good afternoon in Angola.
Good afternoon, Prof. Albin. Thank you for the introduction.
Thank you so much for being with us in this session.
Great.
May I now seek the assistance of our technical panel to share the screen or to
allow me to share my screen.
Doc Abel will be sharing his screen. Okay. Thank you, Ayan. Thank you.
Let me know if you can see.
Yes, we can see the presentation, Doc, but it's still not yet in the slideshow mode.
Yeah, it's loading.
Loading. Okay.
Yeah, it's loading.
Thank you.
Well, what about now? Can you see?
Yes, we can now see the slides in the slideshow mode. Thank you, Doc.
Great. All right, I think it's my time now. I have about a few minutes to share with you a qualitative individual interviews, a step-by-step guide. I want to thank Dr. Gadima for the invitation and for allowing me to come and share my experience with interviews in qualitative research. There are few terminologies that I want you to have in mind whenever I will speak about researchers. I'm talking about the interviewer, and whenever I'm speaking about participants, I'm talking about the interviewee. So those terminologies I want you guys to have in our minds. So as we move along for our conversation, my presentation is basically an experience. I'm sharing an experience that I had whenever I embark conducting qualitative research studies. And one of the critical things about conducting qualitative research study is basically the interview questions. There are many others. So I think one of the critical is conducting individual interviews. And also there are several ways, as we're going to move along with the presentation, several ways of conducting qualitative research studies. So when I was first invited to do a qualitative study by one of then a faculty at the institution that I studied, he told me that there must be a master guide on how to do interviews. And then I researched on how to do interviews. There are many books, which some of them are also going to cite it here. But I failed terribly on my first interview. I did not know how I was supposed to conduct myself. There were questions that I forced because I wanted to get an answer. There were also situations where in participant did not speak much, but I wanted them or him or her to speak. So I've been now reflecting, maybe after sharing my experience, you may not commit the same mistakes I've committed. You may not sin the same way I've sinned. So if you sin after this presentation, there is no hope for you. Anyway, so this is, I come from the Methodist University in Angola, a university that has four colleges, and all in all, there is approximately 7,000 students. There's also master's program in different schools, and there is also a doctorate of theology. I teach both the master's and undergrad students. And one fascinating about this is one of the classroom you can find around 75 students and beyond. So this is an overview of my presentation. Towards the end, probably going to have an activity if time allows. So an interview as a minor. A knowledge is understood as burial metal, and the interviewer is a miner who unearths the valuable metal. The knowledge is waiting in the subject interior to be uncovered. So this knowledge is with the participant. As a researcher, you might probably have an idea, but you may not have the same experience as participant had, uncontaminated by the miner. So you don't contaminate the participants. The interviewer digs nuggets of knowledge out of the subject, pure experiences, unpolluted, any leading questions. So there are many things that you can unpack from this quotation. And the first thing that you need to do is there is knowledge out there with the participants, and you want to extract that knowledge. And how do we extract that knowledge? Is through interviews. And the process of doing those things, the interviews, leads us to remove unpolluted knowledge that can be then presented thematically, knowledge that can be presented to answer your research questions. Because the purpose of the interview is to guide us on how to answer our research questions. And here's the catch. If your interviews are unclear, you might not have clear answered questions to your research study. And this is where we make mistakes. We have these questions, research questions, and when we go out there to collect data, we present different research interviews. So then, when we come to analyze our data, that's not much. Will you go back again to do it? That is something that we need to ponder. So when do we conduct individual interviews? We interview people to find out from those things we cannot directly observe. I will share with you, knowing that you already know, that there are several ways of collecting data. One is observation, but we conduct interview because we cannot observe. We cannot observe feelings, thoughts, intentions. We cannot observe behaviors that took place at some previous point in time. We cannot observe situations that preclude the presence of an observer. We also cannot observe how people organize the world and the meaning they attach to what goes on in the world. We have to ask people questions about those things that matters to them, things they have experienced. So the purpose of interviewing, and I will say individual interview, then is to allow us researchers to enter into the other person's perspective, not yours, but your participant perspective. So this is how that is the reason why we then conduct individual interviews, because we want to get the perception of those whom we are trying to get data from. So then, if there is based on, if when we conduct interview, it's clear, but what is the definition of individual interviews? So there are several, and also I said, if there is what is individual interviews, probably there is what is not individual interviews. So if there is a definition of individual interviews, which you can see from the screen, there are several, but there is also on what is not an individual interview. That will come as the next slide. There are several definitions, I may not read it all, but I'll pick one, which is the Maris, who says a process in which a researcher and participants engage, listen to the word, engage in a conversation focused on questions related. This is the boundary actually, related to the study. You don't ask the participant about something else that is not related to your study. You ask participant of his time, of the time, and really ask questions that is related, or in other words, that will guide you to answer your research questions towards the end, because you need to then present your findings. So it's a engageable conversation, something that is meaningful. But then there are studies which are very sensitive, and you need to be careful also with that. Okay, there are studies which are also sensitive in nature. So what is not an individual, an interview? What is not an individual interview? So an individual interview interviews a structured interaction that collects predefined responses from participants. Use close-ended or fixed choices questions with the aim of measuring variables and producing statistically analysis, or in other words, questions such as yes, no, and so forth. Now, there are many types of collecting qualitative data, and those are observation, interviews, documents, and audiovisual. So when we do observation, which I'm not focused so much, I'll be probably focused on the interview, which is the focus of my presentation here, is there are also ways we collect data, interviews through face-to-face or in-person interviews, or we can also use telephones. I find that aside from cell phones, we can change the word cell phone to gadgets, because I can collect data from my laptop. I can collect data from my iPhone, my tablet, and so forth. So researcher interview through communicable gadgets, and focus group interviews in a group, which you can probably do within a group, and internet interview through emails or Google Form. Now, what are the types of individual interviews? There is what we call structures, semi-structures, unstructures, and online interviews. A structure is a limitation in access to a participant perspective, which those questions may be based on demography, age, ethnicity, and which are commonly used in quantitative interviews. Whereas semi-structure, the researcher creates a list of questions. Participant may raise issues that the researcher did not foresee. So researcher comes within to the participant with a semi-structured questions, and then he asks those questions. But throughout the conversation, many other things can unfold, and researchers should also be flexible, but because sometimes participant may share beyond what you as a researcher maybe described. So unstructured, the researcher has a list of themes or topics with participants. However, the interview is participant-led. In other words, it has been based on open-ended questions, more like a conversation. And as I read, they say the first interview question took place in a TV in the years 80s. Now, there is also online interviews, conducting interviews through various information communication technology and computer-mediated communication tools, such as Skype, Twitter, text, Facebook, and Zoom can also be a very useful tool for conducting interviews. And one thing about Zoom now, it can also help you not transcribe, but yes, it can help you transcribe your interview, but you need to organize it because there's a transcription in Zoom when it's a paid account. So asking good question. When we conduct individual interviews, we need to ask good questions because when we fail to ask good questions, we may not have a substantive data for our study. But there is a catch. Asking good questions takes time. Okay, it takes time. The key to getting good data from interviews is asking good questions. But asking good questions takes time. And sometimes you may be thinking that you have gotten the best interviews from your participants, but sometimes they've shared things that have nothing to do with your study. And I remember while I was still doing my doctorate in the Philippines, I've seen several students crying because they've collected data and they've gone back and forth with the methodologists. And the methodologists say, yes, you have the data, but your data is not answering your research question. So what do you do? So you must master the art of asking good questions. Also, you can do what we call pilot interviews or pilot study. So pilot study helps to be aware of unclear terminologies. When you don't know, when you think those are correct terminology, but when you go out there, participant may ask you, what do you mean by that? So you need to conduct pilot interviews, and pilot interview will help you remove confused questions, and you're going to reward them to yield meaningful data. And Respond can suggest questions to be included in your interview. So this is actually a strategy that we could use for us to get good answers from our interviews. Now, conducting individual interviews, we must develop the art or the skills of listening. Listening is one of the things that most books, at least the ones that I've read so far, I don't claim of reading all, but most of the books of conducting interviews, they are designed in their structures on how to do it, on steps on how to do, on when to do it, and even the philosophical understanding of conducting interview, which are the modes of it, the epistemology. But few books talked about the idea of listening as a skills. Okay, so listening should be a skills in conducting individual interviews. And Sigma suggests 3 levels of listening. This is one of the books that I like because this author suggests on how we should listen. The first one, he said, listen to what participants are saying. They must listen on what they are saying. They must concentrate on the substance to make sure they understand it. So we must listen to what they are really saying. And the other thing is, the second is the inner voice. You need to listen to the inner voice. The inner voice is you ask participant, asking for elucidation by taking the participant's language without make them feel defense about it. And this is the thing you can ask. I hear you saying this. Could you elaborate more? That is the inner voice. And the third is listening while remaining aware of the process as well as the substance. So when you conduct an interview, you probably have your list of questions. You probably have a pen or a notebook. You probably have your radio or recorder somewhere or cell phone to record the participants, of course, with permission. And there are so many things going on, but you need to be aware, okay, of the process. Why taking notes sometimes? Because you need to underline few meaningful words that you can even probe more about it. So you need to be conscious of time and how much have you covered and how much needs to be covered, because people are busy. And maybe probably you may ask me a question later on, is how long should be an interview? uh, People have time, so you need to see what have you covered, what must need to be covered, and you need to be aware of those processes. So a listening skills must be, it's a must to do for a qualitative researcher. I don't know if I'm speaking by myself. I don't see anybody here. I'm only see, I don't know if I'm out of Zoom or I can proceed. Just give me a thumb, a signal that if I'm still with you guys. Are you still together with me?
We can hear you loud and clear, Dr. Mel.
Oh, very good, very good. I thought I was by myself. You know, this is technology. Sometimes things can just go south. So after having developed those skills, then we need to know the art of good follow-up questions. If you not know how to listen, because through listening, you can even have follow-up questions. And those follow-up questions can be in two ways: to confirm understanding and to be inconsistent in participant response. When you see an inconsistency in participant response, but maybe the inconsistency, I'll begin with it. You are not being a detector here. No, no. But you see there is an inconsistency in participant response, could be the second justification for follow-up inquiry. However, in order to avoid coming out as an interrogator or as an investigator, the interviewer shouldn't insist on pointing out every contradiction. So you must have boundary. Sometimes you can just keep quiet. Maybe I'll show a little bit when we do probing. Sometimes you can just resist, don't talk about it. But other times, when you find it necessary and important, you can go on. The number one is confirm understanding. By asking follow-up questions, you may make sure you understand the interview's response as well as they have understood your inquiry or your questions. So you can do such things as this. You can have a follow-up question such as, a while ago you talked about this. Can you elaborate more? A while ago you mentioned that as foreigner in the Philippines, because this is one of the studies that I had, as a foreigner in the Philippines, you experience isolation. Can you elaborate it more? So those are the heart of good follow-up question, because you want to confirm understanding and you see an inconsistency in participants' response. So here we have 6 ways of probing. 6 ways of probing. Garden suggests 7, but I want to suggest 6. 6 ways. The first is silent probing, and basically, you know what silent probing is. Silent learning to distinguish permissible pause and embarrassing silence. There are times you can say, you can just be quiet, nodding your head, and you can have that eye contact with participant, and make sure that you must be distinguished between a permissive pause and an embarrassing silence. And the second is encouragement. Non-verbal noises and gestures that indicate the interview accepts what has been said. I see. Is that so? Can you tell me more? Oh, very good. So those are encouragement. Oh, I'm so sorry. But can you elaborate a little bit further? So those are examples of encouragement when we do probing. So immediate, the third one is immediate elaboration. Encourage participant to respond to the topic at end. Will you please elaborate a little bit further? Can you tell me more? And the fourth is immediate clarification, which is specifies that kind of additional information that is needed. When did that happen? and how did you feel? Okay, so the fifth is retrospective elaboration, which is the interviewer indicates a general interest in the topic that has been mentioned before. Now, this is the thing. You can ask participants, let's go back to the point where you said. And that is the reason why I said a while ago, you have your notes, you have your pen or your pencil, and you are taking notes. You wrote it down. So you said, a while ago, you have said this. You say, you mentioned this point. Can you kindly go back and say a little bit further or explain a little bit further in this particular point? And the last is respective clarification. Refers to response to a previous topic of discussion. You told me that. Can we talk about it? You told me that. Can we talk about it a little bit more? Now, I hope I'm still within my time. So after that, we then have how then we conduct qualitative individuals interview. I have seven steps, probably 7 or 5 steps that I want to submit to you, which are not known, they are very familiar. And this is what I've used along the way. The first is, in conducting individual interview, the first thing you need an interview protocol. I'm sure you are aware what is interview protocol. The first thing you need to be on time. Of course, this is an agreement with you. Is anything that I need to be aware of? There is an agreement between you and the participant, and you have set the time. Be on time. Be on time. Oh, okay, maybe someone is talking now. So you need to be on time. Here, we as a researcher, we need to avoid. I will say, with all due respect, we need to avoid the Filipino time or the African time. We need to be on time. And time is essential because people are busy. 30 minutes before your agreed time, you can either call the participant. Remember our appointment? It's 30 minutes from now. I'm on my way to the place where you selected for you guys to conduct your study. Or I'm on my way to your house and so forth. So be on time, introduce yourself, and be here. I'm sure you can handle the participant, the informed consent. You can handle the participant, the informed consent. Introduce yourself, the purpose of your study, briefly guide the participants into the interview process. Here you can say that you're going to use your cell phone to record audio, and this is going to be anonymous. No one will know it. I will keep the data privately, and then after I've transcribed, I will send it to you, and after that, we will be deleting the information. Second is quality criteria for interview. Let the interview be spontaneous. Keep interview short and clarify interpretations. Third is the ethical issue. Guide participants to sign the informed consent. Request permission for recording the interviews. And the fourth one is active listening. Listen is a must. Listening is a must skill for qualitative researchers. And here, as we listen, when you think it's not clear, you need to ask for clarification when needed. And the fifth one, there must be flexibility. Be flexible. And I've experienced over the years that I don't have so many years of research, but over the process, I've experienced that sometimes participants will tell you that they need to go to different, they have a must go. So what will you do? You need to be flexible. Participant may ask you to end the interviews, and you can politely ask them to reschedule. And you can end the interview in case the interview there's no disruption. You can end the interview with recommendations. And this you can ask, is there anything else that you like to share. And sometimes those questions will lead participants to share more information. And believe me, is there anything else you'd like to share? We are towards the end of our presentation. Can you please share a little bit more? Is there anything that you'd like to add? Give me 1 second. I'm just going to connect my computer. Maybe my battery is draining.
Thank you so much, Doc
So is
Edivaldo.
there anything that you'd like? Yes, I'm back now. Is is there anything else you'd like to add? Can you? We are towards the end of our presentation, not my presentation, but this is the present. Your collect data and say, is there anything else you'd like to add? Is there any other thing you'd like to suggest? And then you see participant be openly to your question. So individual interview strategy, which we're probably gonna browse through, we need to reframing from assuming what participants say. Instead, we need to seek for clarification. We need to refrain from summarizing interviews answer. Uh, we need to avoid judging or leading participant to your desired outcomes. And this is where we need to declare reflexivity. Sometimes we need we want to achieve something through our research. And we unaware, we may lead participant to that angle. So we need to avoid that. We need to be mindful of your several communication languages, the tone and the body language. So those speaks louder when we do individual interview, and participant can see, they can notice, and they may be careful on how to share information. We need to provide sufficient time for participants to reply. Okay? And most importantly, friends, we need to be cultural sensitive. We need to be cultural sensitive when we collect data. So what I'm going to share with you is my guideline, and I have found contradiction, and I found contradiction. Okay, I have 2 minutes. So here it is. They said surprises that there cannot be a single universal protocol for follow-up developing qualitative interviews. But I want to submit to you, this is what I did. This is what I do. This is how I do for my individual interviews. I know I have my qualitative research design. I have the purpose of my study. I have my research questions. I have my interview questions, which comes from my research questions, and I have my participants in mind. So this is the model that I use for my qualitative study. And this is basically, so the design that I have here is the study that I've conducted. Some of them have been published. I think there's only one that has not been published now. So this is what I do. So research design, what is it? It's the case study. So what is the case? Here you need to know what is the case. What is the research questions? What is the interview questions? And who are your participants? Okay, who are your participants? So this is what I used, although many people will tell you there is no universal guideline on how we do individual interviews, but I function best with graphics, with tables, and I use this when conducting my individuals interview. And I hope you can also maybe develop yours or take picture of this to help you in your individuals interviews. Fortunately, we have no time. We could have done this activity. I'm sure my time is done. Thank you so much for listening. And this is basically the conclusion of my presentation. I see that I have 2 minutes and I need to rush to that. The conclusion is up there on the screen. Probably you can read it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Edivaldo Abel, for that very insightful and enriching structured walkthrough in the conduct of individual qualitative interviews or qualitative individual interviews. Your experience and expertise indeed have provided us with tools on how to conduct also individual interviews for our respective qualitative researches. Okay, let's give a hand or a virtual round of applause to Dr. Edivaldo Abel for that very helpful presentation. Okay, let's flood our screen, everyone, with resounding virtual applause. Thank you so much, Doc Abel, for your time. Okay, at this point, before we proceed with the question and answer session, we will be plugging very, very quickly our Qualitative Research Connect conference, which will be taking place on September 1 to 8. This event actually gathers thought leaders, practitioners, and aspiring researchers from all over the world. Let's watch the video presentation.
It's time. Yes, it's time. We are about to make history. Qualitative Research Connect, QLRC, is about to hold its first ever international qualitative research. QLRC is a global organization, legally registered in Maryland, USA. You don't want to miss this biggest worldwide qualitative research event that's bringing together hundreds of qualitative research experts and mentors from around the globe. They're coming from everywhere: USA, Canada, Central and Latin America, Asia, Asia Pacific, Europe, Africa, and the Caribbean. All for the love of qualitative research. Please mark your calendar. The Global Qualitative Research Conference 2025 will be held from September 1st to 3rd, 2025. It will be virtual to minimize the travel expenses. Whether you are a seasoned or novice qualitative researcher, research director, dean, university staff, president or vice president, university student or faculty, K-12 educator, policymaker, publisher, or just a qualitative research enthusiast, you are welcome. We have 2 keynote speakers and 4 plenary speakers from the USA, Brazil, Philippines, and the Caribbean. We will have hundreds of presentations from various countries. Such a great opportunity to learn more about qualitative research. We will learn, unlearn, relearn, dig deeper together. We will challenge one another and grow together. We will meet and network together. Please go to conference.qlrconnect.com for more details.
Okay, at this point, may I invite the founder of Qualitative Research Connect, Dr. Sakari, for some important announcements.
Thank you so much, Prof. Alvin, and congratulations to Dr. Edivaldo for that very, very useful, helpful presentation. That was just really very informative with very practical steps and strategies to use. A lot of them, all of them actually already proven from experience and from different publications. I just wanted to remind each and everyone, I know that the deadline for submission of the abstracts was May 31 last Saturday, but some people had technical issues. Obviously, the platform was set up that it was closed before 11:59 p.m. and some people were not able to submit, and so we extended to June 15th. June 15th, 11:59 p.m. That is the final cutoff. If your abstract is not in yet, it's out, it's not going to be accepted. And so if you miss that deadline for any reason, this is your chance. Please do not wait until June 15th because we don't want you to run into the same technical issues that other people face. And so we want to see each and every one of you there, whether you're going to present or you're going to be attending without presenting, that's perfectly fine. But if you have a research study that you're working on, it's almost done, or you completed, some of you have just graduated, you did a qualitative study for your thesis or dissertation, all these are fantastic topics that you can submit and for consideration. And so please make sure that you don't miss that deadline if you're planning to present at this conference. And the best part, you don't even have to travel. So that makes it one of the most affordable ones that you can find out there. Back to you, Prof. Alvin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sakari, for those very important information about our qualitative research Connect Conference. Again, happening on September 1st to 3rd of 2025. We hope to see you there. Please visit our official website at www.qlrconnect.com for more details and registration information. Okay, at this point, we now proceed to the question and answer session relative to the presentation or the talk of Dr. Edivaldo Abel. In the interest of time, would like our participants to just type in the questions, whatever inquiries you have in mind regarding the presentation of Dr. Abel. I'll be reading them on your behalf to address the question to our resource speaker. Okay. Are there any questions? So far in the chat box, it's more of a message of gratitude regarding the presentation of Dr. Abel. And we have ample time. We still have 20 minutes left, more or less 20 minutes left for the question and answer. Okay, are there any from the participants? Actually, the presentation was very helpful. I really love the tool that you presented, Dr. Abel. That was very, very helpful in conducting interviews. And those will really guide the researchers on the basis of the research design, the methodology, and the data that we are going to gather. Those tools that you presented in the rear, the tail end portion of your presentation. I really like that and hope to apply also those techniques in my future research studies also. Yes, according to Ma'am Fidelita Cojuangco, thank you for the very helpful tips in making a qualitative research. The presentation was very clear. Others were saying, hoping we can attend the virtual event on September 1. Okay. Perhaps our participants are still processing the information that you shared, Dr. Abel. And let's just wait for a little bit for these questions to transpire and be communicated in our chat box. Okay, there's already a question. There are two questions already, Dr. Abel. I'd like to start with the one that flashed on my screen first. This is from Ma'am Camille Moron. Hi, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Abel. I am Camille from the Philippines. I am a novice qualitative researcher. May I just humbly ask what type of qualitative design can I use in my research about profiling Makapuno processors? It's a technology, profiling Makapuno processors. So what qualitative research design can you suggest, Dr. Abel?
All right, thank you for the good questions. I don't know if I can still share my screen. There's something that I just want to emphasize based on the questions that are coming. Is that okay? Is that okay to share? All right. Allow me to share my screen again. Let me know if you can see it. This is the questions. One of our colleagues asked, what research design can she or he use for the study, correct? Okay, so this is the thing. One of the mistakes that I did, and I've learned it, is to first select the design and then the questions. However, I've read the other way around should be the case. We first must have questions that we want to address for our study. And qualitative research design, just as I shared it here, every qualitative research design has its own demands and requirements. Knowing the design and the purpose enhances the research questions and the interviews. So to answer that question, I would definitely say, what is the purpose of your study? What is it that you want to study? What is it that you want to find out? And the qualitative research design will come later on to enhance that your particular purpose and the question. So I would say, first, know what you really want to study. Maybe write down two or three questions. And then you will see that based on your readings, you will best understand that this question fits best with this design. I remember a colleague and I conducted a study, which is a phenomenological study. The study is the lived experience of talented individuals in the Philippines, talented Angolians individuals in the Philippines. And we wanted to know, why is it many Angolians, when they go to the Philippines, which most of us go there for study or went there for study, they don't want to return? I'm just trying to share this to relate on what maybe the person will also understand. They don't want to come back. We want to know their experience. But the questions, the initial question that we had were case study based. Can you explore? Can you elaborate? All these things. Those were some of our research questions. But our design was phenomenology. It's when we went to South Africa in the World Qualitative Research. Not only South Africa, we presented a study in South Africa, and then we presented the study in the Philippines, in Accra, in Palawan. It's when Dr. Celi Rosario gave a workshop on phenomenology. We look at each other and we say, we are doing something wrong. So we needed to reframe the questions to fit the design that we initially had, because our design were case study. Now, if you read some dissertation in IAS in the Philippines, I know that some students have combined two methodologies. That is totally okay, because the questions that you have might be for one design, and maybe your second question might be for a different design. So to sum it up, know your purpose, the question, and then the design will eventually fit. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bell, for the very insightful response. I hope you have noted or you have noted that particular response, Camille. No? It's very important to have really a clear direction of your study first. Identify what your research objective is and what are the problems that you will address. Then the research design will follow eventually. Allow me to proceed, Dr. Bell, with the second question. This is from Mel Greg Concepcion. May I know if you have certain standards regarding the number of interview questions for triangulation purposes of a study? So perhaps this is a mixed method, no? Triangulation purposes, or perhaps within the context of qualitative research. Number of questions, Doc, for triangulation purposes. Any figure?
Oh, come again? I didn't get it.
Okay. Our participant is asking about the number of interview questions that we can include for triangulation purposes.
Okay, the number of interview questions that we can include for triangulation purposes. This is the thing. I shared a while ago that we need to keep our interview short as possible, but meaningful as it. There is no such thing as a guideline of, at least from what I've read, at least a guideline on how many questions that you should have for triangulation. But always look at what is it that you want to cover and you want to understand. And that will guide you. So sometimes the strategy that I use is to, from one research question, my study research question, I try to come up with at least 4 questions, 4 interviews that will guide me, okay? And those 4 comes from my research question, one only. If I have 3 research questions, and then I'll have many other questions. So there is no actually a guideline. It's basically what you originally intended to study, and make sure to keep it short, because you don't want to bother, you don't want to keep participants for too long, and so forth.
If I can jump in, Prof. Alvin and Dr. Abel,
Yes,
I think there are 2 things that are happening in that question. One is about what is the number of questions in the interview, because triangulation does not affect the number of questions that you're going to have in a qualitative research study. It does not, because triangulation, we're trying to make sure we have at least 3 sources. That is the fundamental type of triangulation. We have different types, but the one that is mostly known is having at least 3 sources, triangle. And so the number of questions do not have anything to do with triangulation. So let's put that on the side. But what is the number that is necessary for an interview? It is true what Dr. Abel said, that there's no formula for that. But the bottom line for that question is to go with your problem statement. Your problem statement will tell what will be your research questions, and the research questions, you make sure that the interview questions are directly helping address those you make sure that they address those research questions. So if you have 4 research questions, maybe some research questions each of them need 2 questions or 3 interview questions. So in the end, you may have 10 questions. Some people may have a study that has 3 research questions, and maybe each one of them has 1 or 2 interview questions. And so your problem statement will tell how many research questions you'll have. And from each research question, you will decide how many interview questions you have, because the interview questions are guiding you to address research questions. The research questions are helping you to address the research problem. And so I just wanted to address it from that perspective as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Perry and Dr. Edivaldo, for those very insightful inputs, no, on the number of interview questions. So it's clear that there are no universally accepted standards on the number of interview questions that we can include in our conduct of the study, as long as these research questions or the number of interview questions will sufficiently and adequately address our research question or our research objectives. Okay. Now allow me to proceed, Dr. Abel, with the third question from our participant. I'm Dr. Darren Anima, my professor from the University of the Philippines. Okay, this is about techniques in the conduct of qualitative interviews, Dr. Abel. Dr. Darren was asking about what should we do as researchers if the participant doesn't want to really talk more about the topic. Will you still continue or just end the interview?
All right. Do we continue or just end the interview? Well, first of all, interviews is one of the way you collect data. There might be many other ways. One could be observation, one could be focus group. Depends on the nature of your study, on how you wanted to collect those data. But if the participant is not willing to talk, and here I would say because they are sensitive study. And I will tell you one very sensitive study that we are currently doing with some faculties from Andrews University is about witchcraft. And we want to interview those who were witched before, those who were witched, and those who are witched now. And this is so sensitive because we are interviewing individuals that are currently living and are currently conducting activities as witched. How do you go to that person and ask them such a question? How do you feel when you are in the night flying away without visa and passport? So of course, you need to understand sometimes participants will not be willing to share. And when they are not willing to share, as a guide, don't force it. And you might not only have one participant, you may have several. And you can write in your memory that you find this, and you may ask yourself, why is it that participant was unwilling to talk? And you can, I don't know if Dr. Safari can jump into that, if there's guideline, if you can report that participant were not willing to share, but there must be a way that you don't really force them. And if they're not willing to talk, maybe you can jump to a different participant who will be more freely and willing to talk.
Yeah, I had actually that very experience in my recent dissertation. I think some of you on this platform contributed to that. And I had planned it for 45 minutes to 60 minutes. That was the time I was targeting. No, 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And there was somebody within 15 minutes they were done. All with all the effort and even the past experience that I had in interviewing, I always believe that I'm really good with that. But this person was just a man of few words. I finished, I think, I had 45 interviews because it was a grounded theory. No, it's 47. But in the end, this person, the lowest one was 18 minutes, the other one was 22 minutes. I felt like a total failure. Listen, you cannot force people to speak. If they have already given you the information, you're done. If they don't have enough information, I think, which is one of the questions there, can you ask for clarification? Yes, but some people will just clarify in 2 sentences and they don't have anything to say beyond that. So as long as you see that they are interested in participating, they just have few words, just live with that and report that as it is in your report later on, that the interviews varied from 15 minutes to 60 minutes, although they were prepared for 30 minutes to 60 minutes, but there were 2 or 3 people who spoke a lot less, despite the fact that they provided all the answers. They were people of few words, and that's it. We cannot force people to go beyond and then just waste their time. That's some of the things that will face. So when we're selecting our participants, if we happen to know them, people in our university, in our community, that is one thing that we may want to watch for, to recruit people that we know can really share in detail, because that's what we want to do in qualitative research. Back to you.
And in fact, one of the things, Dr. Safari, is we select participants purposefully that we know that they can really share information. Those are some of the things.
Thank you so much, Dr. Perry and Dr. Bell, for your insightful answers to those questions. I can see and read a lot of substantial questions in the chat box, but because we have already consumed our time, no? And I guess we still have 2 or 3 more minutes left. So in the interest of time, maybe we can just address last one question from the chat box, Dr. Bell. Okay, so the third and perhaps the last question is from Ma'am Sencha Limhap from the Philippines. Just a clarificatory question. You mentioned that we should not summarize the interview. So the question is, shouldn't we make clarification on how we interpret the responses of the participants and find out if they agree with our interpretation? It's more of verification, Doc, no? On how our interviewees' responses to the questions that we pose.
Mhm. Oh, thank you for that question, Doc. I said we should not make clarification how to interpret the response. In here, we can make a follow-up by saying this. I heard you saying this. Could you elaborate more? So actually, you are not implying what you know, but you're allowing the participant to say what you perceive that you have heard. And here you are clarifying. And the participant will be willing to say, no, I've said this, this. And then it becomes clear. Because if you just assume, and then it's something that you may not share. And this is the thing, when you transcribe and you send it to the participant, he may read it through, those who are more careful, and say, no, I have not said this. Can you kindly delete it? Can you kindly erase? So you need to really ask, I heard you saying this. Could you elaborate? Could you emphasize a little bit more? So that's the catch.
Thank you, Dr. Abel. That's a very helpful tip on how we can converse really effectively and efficiently with our participants in a qualitative research interview. Okay, as much as you would like to address all the questions posed in our chat box, it's already time, everyone. So those questions that were not posed or were not addressed in this session can be actually communicated via our Facebook page. I invite everyone to really be a member or be a part of that particular growing Facebook group community. And we can continue discussing there. Those questions will be thoroughly addressed by Dr. Abel and, of course, our other qualitative research experts here. including, of course, founder himself, Dr. Safari. Okay, as we reach the conclusion of this session, may I remind you of some important announcements regarding this evening session. So this session has been recorded actually, no? And the recording will be available 48 hours after our session. It will be made available on our official website via www.qlrconnect.com. And again, we strongly encourage and invite you to be a part or be a member of our growing community through the Facebook page. We can continue discussing there whatever concerns you have regarding the conduct of qualitative research. Please don't miss the opportunity to connect with us again in the future through our upcoming QLRC conference, already mentioned to you by Doc Safari a while ago. And more webinar sessions in the future, actually. Our next webinar session will be happening on July 3rd, 2025. And it will be focused more on another very interesting and helpful topic, which is on ethics in qualitative research. So it's very, very exciting also. So I hope you can join us in this another session next month. Of course, this session would not be possible without your presence. So from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for being a part of this wonderful journey in learning the conduct of qualitative individual interviews. And again, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to Dr. Edivaldo Abel for sharing us his time, his wisdom, and his practical strategies on conducting qualitative interviews. And to all of you who joined us today, thank you so much for your presence and for your participation. This made the event meaningful and successful. Until our next webinar series, goodbye everyone. Thank you.